I want to highlight a second tool for single women today. That is the issue of the mantle of invisibility. A friend of mine was raised in the Air Force. She tells a story of the opposite of the mantle of invisibility. It was a hot summer day, and she and some of her young teenage friends from the base had gone down to the PX. It was a very innocent, innocuous, ordinary, normal trip. They just went in to buy some ice cream. And while they were in the PX, just a handful of them milling around, the door to the PX opened, and there was a sudden silence that settled over the place. The girls were instantly aware something had shifted, and they turned to see what had happened. And all that had happened was that two fighter pilots had walked in. They were not enemy fighter pilots, they were from the base. But they carried such a command presence that even with the back turned to them, the girls sensed that something significant had come into the room, and the conversation dropped immediately. There is that human ability to project your spirit in a commanding way. Not too many people have the kind of command presence that a fighter pilot has to have, but almost all of you have experienced somebody projecting their spirit. You are standing in a room and you feel somebody behind you looking at you, and you turn to see who it is. You're walking down the street and you can feel somebody projecting their spirit. They're looking at you with their spirit. They're touching you. They're nudging you from 20 feet away, and you turn around and look at them. The opposite of that is a mantle of invisibility, which generally is embraced voluntarily. Many, many times this can be traced back to childhood, where it was unsafe for a child to be visible. This could be an unwanted pregnancy, where the child experienced the mother consciously trying to hide the growing baby in the womb. And the child knew that the presence of that bulge, the visibility of the baby, was causing great grief to the mother. The child received the message in the womb that if only this baby could be invisible and not seen, the world would be a better place. In homes where there's a great deal of parental anger, children learn that if they're not in the room, if they're not seen, if they're not around, they're less apt to be attacked by the parent. And so the wish to be invisible, the wish to not be present, the wish to be low profile is expressed mentally or verbally thousands of times. Where there's molestation, the child will wish that he didn't exist, or wish that his gender was, or her gender was invisible, will wish that in some way, in some shape, in some manner, they could just not be there when they hear the steps coming down the hallway towards the bedroom. Sometimes when there's a dysfunctional marriage, the child will blame himself for the difficulties in the marriage, saying, if only I hadn't been born, mom and dad would be happy. The family would be better off without me. These are all beliefs, proclamations, thoughts, ideas, and even vows that can produce a mantle of invisibility. They can cause you to be spiritually invisible to other people, even though you're physically visible. I have watched this in ministry lines. There's 30 people in line. You watch the visiting minister go down the line, and he goes to person number 13, 14, 15, 17. He skips right over 16. I mean, the person is standing there fully as visible as the one to his left and the one to his right, and the speaker just goes by him. There's individuals that have had that happen dozens of times. Dozens of different speakers in different cities, different contexts, different situations have looked right through them as though they didn't exist. And many, many times, that mantle of invisibility that is a source of grief to the adult was consciously sought after by that person when they were a young child. So I would encourage you, if this is a difficulty in your life, if men seem to not see you, if you are in the presence of godly men and women and they just look right through you as though you aren't there, that you first of all break the vows that you made, proclaim the fact that it is all right for you to have an identity, it is all right for you to have a destiny, and it is all right for you to be seen, particularly to be seen by men, particularly for you to be seen by men of God, men of influence, men of great strength, to be seen by spiritual giants. And as you celebrate the fact that it is right for you to be visible, you should begin to experience some changes where in a group conversation in the past you would speak out an idea and other people would just act as though you hadn't said anything and keep right on talking. You should see a shift. You should see people engaging with your idea. And every time you see that the mantle of invisibility has been removed, you need to celebrate that. You need to, in your mind, thank God that you have been seen and say, it was okay, it was safe, it was actually felt good for me to be involved in the conversation instead of seen as the invisible person in the room. Then I would encourage you to practice opening up your spirit and reaching out to others. When you are standing in line at the grocery store, you can begin to extend blessings with your spirit to the person ahead of you. And you will find that after a time of consciously visualizing your soul and your spirit reaching out and just gently placing a blessing in the arms of the stranger that is standing ahead of you in the line, many times they will begin to turn around and look at you. They will begin to sense that you are effective in extending your spirit. But if you have a 20-year habit of pulling your spirit in, if you have a 20-year habit of shrinking inside yourself, if you have a 20-year habit of being invisible, you're going to have to consciously practice extending your spirit. I strongly feel that it is normative, not extraordinary, for us to have a spirit that reaches out. It is a normal thing for a father. I only have one memory of my Grandpa Weston. He died when I was about 3 years old, but I remember his sitting in the swing at the ranch and my sitting on his lap and just kind of snuggling in and being comfortable. I don't remember what he looks like. I don't remember what he sounds like. I don't remember his ever giving me anything. I can't remember whether he had his arms around me or not. But what I remember is that it was an incredibly safe place. I remember his father heart, his spirit, reached out and welcomed me. And whether he hugged me with his arms or not, Grandpa hugged me with his spirit. And it was a wonderful, wonderful place to be. Where did Grandpa Weston get that? He didn't get it from the devil. He sure didn't learn it in second grade. This is the essence of fathering. This is what God the Father does. And I would suggest to you that the Father is waiting to extend His Spirit to you in a way that causes you to extend your spirit to Him. We call it practicing the presence of the Father. There's many good things that have been written about that, and it is a discipline that grows with time. But if you want to remove the mantle of invisibility to the greatest degree, if you want your spirit in all of its beauty, in all of its elegance, in all of its sweetness and tenderness to be visible to the man that God has created to recognize you and take you as his wife, I would encourage you to diligently practice the presence of the Father. Just being in his presence and extending your spirit to him and receiving his spirit as he wraps himself around you in his presence. It is a learned discipline. And if you have worked very, very hard to be invisible, you may have to work fairly hard to become visible. But it's worth it. It's normative. It is doable. God didn't call you to have a mantle of invisibility because of a wounded childhood. God has called you to be just as visible to others as you are to His Spirit, because He knows you, He designed you, and He really likes the Spirit that He put in you. So enjoy. Enjoy reaching out to the Spirit of the Father and then receiving when He responds and sees your spirit and affirms and validates it.